that'll be the problem I was explaining with the number plate. But you'll see there's a closer gap there than there, so the whole lot somehow needs to go over. I'm fairly sure it's not the subframe. So at the back of the bike it looks like these two bits have either had a tweak or they've never been right. I'm assuming these are perpendicular to the axis of the bike. So if I take my tri-square and do that, originally this one is pointing that way a bit, and this one is pointing that. So heavy club hammer and right. So I've put some you could call it marking glue, permanent pen, and use my tri-square, and you can see it's only touching there, not here. So this ends there, and on the other side it's not really touching at all, other than here. So this still needs to go that way. I think I may need a bigger hammer. So managed to move it, and you can now see there's witness marks there. So that has this one. The witness marks have moved up, so it's now scraping there instead of just at the end. So that one worked well. May have mentioned this before, but what I found was the two bolts either side have some play, so you can twist it slightly one way or the other, or move it that way as well. So what I've done is moved it that way, twisted it down a bit. So the twist down has brought that into line, and moving it that way has altered the clearance. If we go down the centre line of the bike now, it's in line as good as it's going to be. The cowl is just resting, it's not clipped into the side panels or screwed down onto the subframe, but I've got the bits closer and it's tending to line up with the centre of the wheel. I still need to do wheel alignment, so that may well change. Having loosened this bit off the back of the bike, I realised it's not many connectors to disconnect it. And looking at this bar at the bottom, it's in a pretty shoddy state. So while I'm doing it, I might as well take this off. I've just taken two top hat spacers that go on the side. I'm not sure if those rubber grommets go all the way through, or I'm not quite sure, because this metal bit goes across the bottom and then up the side here, so I don't know if I have to try and pull those out or not. And then I've got one indicator off. I think this is, no, it isn't the chain side, but no signs of corrosion on that one. The other one, rusty as buggery, so that might require some heat. Certainly got some penetrating oil on it. And then any rusty bits will go in the evaporust again for a day or two, and then I can rub those down. So gradually, bit by bit, this bike will get tarted up again. A bit of a cut and a chisel, and then I must have broken the rust free because that bit's come off. They're in the evaporust soaking. This is the bracket that goes underneath the mudguard and the rear light. And if that's straight, that appears to be that way, that appears to be that way, so I've got a little bit of straightening to do. The under seat bracket, this has now had a coat, only because I had some, of silver enamel. High temperature, it'll never need high temperature, but there we are, 2 coats of zinc primer, coat of whatever, and that's ready to go back on. Same for this, so not as quick. Why do I never get used to Project Creep? Not perfect, but good enough. A little bit of tweaking on the vise. A bit flat that way. In here, just need to find a tub big enough to put it in to soak it in evaporust. Hat spacers. They've had over a day in the evaporust, and then a tickle with the wire brush. Probably need more treatment, but what I'm planning on doing is all of these pieces, including the bracket. So the bracket's had a day, needs a wash off so it'll dry, and a tickle with the wire brush. It's really quite corroded on one side, and then not so bad, although bad enough on the other side. So I've got some rust converter, I'll put that on, wash it off, and then that will get a couple of coats of zinc spray, a couple of coats of silver. Well, I think I'm going to do this black because I think that's what it was, and they'll be in silver, and then we can start the reassembly. Can't remember how well this works, but I've got some of this left, so that's just going to get painted onto the metal. Left to convert it, washed off and painted it. Rust converter on those. Rust converter on the bracket. Then we have the top hat bits. Silver coat on top. Bit matte, but that will look alright. And then the mudguard bracket, one coat of black. Not sure, if you look at it, I haven't quite got it on enough, so I need to find some more black to go on. And a second coat of black. Sorry, it's swinging so much. And that will do. I don't know whether I'm going to lacquer it or not, probably not. The rear guard is quite scruffy, discoloured. So I think that's just going to get a good wash. The rear mudguard has been washed. Didn't quite get all the bits out, but enough. You can see how it's gone grey, oxidised. I have seen where people have used a hot air gun to change the colour. Not showing up, but it's definitely gone darker than this. I'm frightened to do too much, so I think just finish this side off and the other and then leave it alone. Well, it's okay, but I have a feeling if you look at the side there, it's bowed out a bit with the heat.
There's a view of the main bracket with the black paint on it, and you can just make out the other one, the silver one that clamps the front of the mudguard.
And I've changed, flushed through the brake fluid all the way down and into here. A little bit of spillage I'll have to wipe off, may or may not be in there. That was a horrible colour. It was sort of like a rusty orange colour. It's now got clear brake fluid in. Brake pedal feels okay, and like the rest of the frame, you can see where it's been hand painted a silver. I don't know what the condition is underneath, but we'll address that another time. The rear mudguard is back on. I've just got to wire up the tail light and check I've got the indicators the right way around, and then the seat cowl can go back on. And my next plan is to take off the tank and look at the carburettors and the breather pipes under there to see if I can sort those out. Talking about Project Creep earlier, start looking at things. I've washed my bike this morning to get the frame and the back of the engine clean, and while I was doing that I noticed that it's all crusty around the chain guard and up this side of the suspension bracket. I've got to decide now when to do that. I did think it was just this bit on the side by the chain guard, but if I look further around you can see that looks crusty, so I think that swinging arm out and repaint before that gets worse, particularly as winter's coming. So as I said, I've given this a soap and wash. The battery box filled up with water, so I just drilled 2 drain holes in there. I have to look at the manual because the shock looks upside down to ones I've had before. I took out the fuel pump and fuel filter so that was clear. It looks a bit dry, better in there, it just needs to dry off now. Well, it's a bodge for now. I found some hammerite, given it scrubbed down with the electric drill wire brush, slapped some silver hammerite, hammer finish hammerite on, done the same on the tank mount seat bit, done the same across where the suspension mount was, and just slapped some on the rusty spots on the cross braces there. The frame, what I was hoping to do was slip some plastic or material all the way around there, rub the frame down and just give it a spray just to make it look nice. But I did think the shock was upside down because I've only ever seen the preload adjusters at the swinging arm end. But no, that's how it is. And I foolishly started rubbing off the hand painted bit, just left the frame looking a bit of a mess. So I think if I take off the two engine supports, pull things into the centre and mask it all. Hope you can hear me through the mask because I'm about to spray. A bit of a bodge job with the masking up, just use some tape and some spray just to mask off the main bits. I'm hoping I can just do the main down tubes. I think these bits in there will have to be left. And then bits of card just to keep it out of the way there. And just going to have to be careful with the holes in certain places. And we'll see what it looks like. I have bought some high coat alloy wheel spray from eBay. Again through the mask. Even though I've rubbed it down and degreased it, it's reacting in a few places. I'll probably have to rub those down and go again. Well, it now has a coat of lacquer over it, which is supposedly petrol resistant. You can see it's still blistered along the top. I'm assuming there's something on the paint that came off the tank. I don't know. But I've rubbed it down twice and sprayed it, and it's just coming through. It's not... oh yeah, I can feel it under there, but not so bad there. The actual finish, given that this is a 10-foot bodge job, looks alright. It's just a shame, I don't know if you can see in there, I've managed to, I'm not quite sure, oh that's the wiring harness, I've managed to spray the wiring harness. A 10-foot paint job, should look good from 10 foot. As I said yesterday, bit of reaction on the frame tube here. Managed to spray the cables and a wiring bit or a breather fuse. Might scrub off. Same with that cable there's just got touched. The other side, I think I've caught the wiring loom. Bit of reaction, but actually feels amazingly good. Oh, and some on the centre stand, and the same on this side. I think the cover will hide the overspray. Thinners didn't really work on the overflow bottle, but